Hey, how's it going? It's Christopher here. I just wanted to do a little video really quick for y'all because all of the many books that I read over the last couple of months that I wanted to do little reviews of and post for y'all to see, which I've been reading for trying to be better at doing outreach and the ideas that I have gotten from the books that I've read. Um, the key books that I think really gave me ideas is the one book called uh, The Networked Nonprofit, and another book which Mitzi kept on trying to get everybody to read, Roles for Revolutionaries, and also well, it opened my eyes to some things. Was I think it was called "Don't Look at the Elephant" or something along that lines. It's talking about framing the debate, and so how using terms like the tax relief bill in itself is a frame of the debate by calling it a tax relief bill, because then all of a sudden people see it as being a relief to people who are burdened, and so therefore anybody that's going to be against a tax relief bill is going to be part of the oppressors, and so on and so forth. And then things how like the pro-life is framing the debate using that term, and it obviously immediately shows, okay, if you're not pro-life, then you're pro-death, which is how they came up with trying to reframe it by using things such as pro-choice instead of pro-abortion, to reframe the debate. And then now with things like the new pro-life movement trying to redefine what pro-life means so they could reframe the debate again. Or like right now at this moment, using terms like an invading army and concerns like the group of asylum seekers coming up from Honduras. And which is kind of scary. Like the other day, I was driving and listening to Sean Hannity, and the way he was framing it, trying to make himself look compassionate, like, oh my goodness, I really don't want anybody to get hurt, and we're gonna have the military down there, and they're supposed to keep people from coming in, and if these asylum seekers try to cross the border illegally, I just really don't want them to get hurt, but yada yada yada, to make it look like, oh yeah, it's something that has to be done, like killing this invading army, shooting these dangerous women and children. But okay, that being said, there's the framing of the debate, which the Democratic Party and the Republican Party spend millions and millions and millions of dollars a year on think tanks to come up with these little tiny phrases that are so packed with innuendo that it frames the debate automatically. Which with that, I think it'd be good to co-opt good frames from other people, from both left and right, if it frames the debate the way we want the debate framed. Now again, like with the network nonprofit and with Roles for Revolutionaries, one of the biggest things that both of those books were pointing at and spreading thoughts and ideas and political movements. Network nonprofit for nonprofits, but it definitely applies to us, is that we have to have face-to-face real networking, and we have to have real networking online. We have to utilize social media, which Amar is working very hard at. And one of those things, like looking at that, some of the ideas that I have are this: we need to coordinate and get some teams going that are willing to make sure that all the states have content being published on their state pages. And my idea is to have certain teams who are simply there to repost all the posts from the main ASP page on all the state pages, as well as teams, whether they be the same teams or different teams, to be doing the research to find events on a statewide level for each of the states that would correspond with our ideals, and to start getting a presence in these different events. And in my opinion, when we start to get that, we need to supply or get the people who are going to go to purchase shirts and hats and other paraphernalia like we used at the Rehumanize event, to make our presence known visually and then verbally, because people are going to see, like, well, what's that? What is that? What is that? You know, and we want people to know what that is. Pro-life for the whole life. We want to save the babies, and we want to make sure the Hondurans don't get shot when they're crossing the border as unarmed citizens. You know, we want to push our ideology, and part of that is having things that show who we are when we show up to events, but we have to show up to events. Now, another thing with the Network Nonprofit, that book, it talks a lot about outreach to bloggers and vloggers with a V for the video blogging, and to other types of media outlets that are in line with our thoughts. So, like, they distribute us social media deals and bloggers, try to get them to talk about us, try to make friends. But it all, like in that book, it says that in order to really create that to be happening, that we need to actually go beforehand and meet with the bloggers, meet with the writers, meet with these different people, and create actual face-to-face relationships. So we need to start, in my opinion, getting people who could actually go out and start meeting people face-to-face and talking about our party and our ideals, and getting them on board, even if it's only one simple blog post, or if it's one simple mention, you know, but to get them to start being more regular, and to get them to perhaps even come on board and become members of the ASP and become regular cheerleaders. And another thing that both of those books, Roads for Revolutionaries and the Network Nonprofit, said was to give autonomy and to give responsibility to the volunteers, and to not hoard the responsibility, and to let them kind of do their own thing. And that sometimes that will backfire, but that the backfire has shown in many instances to not be significant compared to the good that occurs from it. Now, wanting to come up with a whole entire plan with that, I really want to get with you, Eric, and with you, Amar, and see if we can't come up with a plan, because Eric, you being in charge of the states, and Amar, you in charge of the social media, and me in outreach, which pretty much would just mean working with you two. Now, I mentioned before the election, and I mentioned in my post that I just made about my time restraints. That's something that was known before I was elected. That's something that everybody knew about. If it's aggravating you, hey, I'm sorry about that, but I was upfront about that. So that's just something that has to be dealt with, as long as you want to keep me on board. If you don't want to keep me on board, that's fine. You know, I think I'd be better suited to being active in my state, which is what, after this term is over, that's all I want to focus on, is my state, Louisiana. If I'm not going to try to run for re-election for national committee, you know, but I'm going to continue reading these books to make myself prepared. So if in the future I decide I want to run for national committee again, or just continue being active in any kind of leadership role or volunteer role in the party, that I'll actually be able to do it. You know, I'm very much technologically illiterate. You know, like all the different things we've been using, I don't know how to use all those different technologies. I'm not on the level of you all when it comes to the different technologies. Which technology is another thing. Technology is a big thing that's talked about in the Network Nonprofit and in Rules for Revolutionaries, which is something that I think those two books are books that we all should read, because I think that they will really give us a good mind frame on how to go forward. And I think that many of you will get way more out of that than I will, because y'all are so much more knowledgeable and savvy in those areas than I am. And so here I am. I'm a newbie. You know, I'm not educated on many of these things. You know, and I could only read so much. You know, I read like 8 books on my last 7-week hitch, trying to get myself in a place where I could be effective, at least to the amount that I'm able to be effective in my position. So with that said, there's my little spiel there. You give me whatever feedback you want to give me, and we'll talk. You know, my phone number is, well, I'm not going to put it on the video because I'm putting this up on YouTube, so I'll put the phone number in the comment section after I post this video on the NC page. All right, God bless you all. Bye.